Hi, Marie. That was quick. How are you today? Wasn't expecting anybody on so quick. Hi, PG Nano. How are you? I'm doing terrific. I figured I would get on because I'm going to be making some homemade biscuits and gravy here in a minute and kind of chat with you guys, see how y'all are doing, and show y'all how I make homemade biscuits and gravy. Oh, yeah, yum is the word. I haven't had it in a while. This will be the first time Ashley has had it since her surgery, so we're going to see how she can take it. She's doing good. Just kind of chilling on the couch today, not feeling the best, but functionable. Hi, Matt. How are you doing? Everybody says to give you hugs. She says thanks. So I'm going to sit down, have a little bit of coffee, have a cigarette. I'm waiting on my sausage to thaw out, so I just gotta wait a little bit longer, and I should be good to start making my biscuits and gravy. And I'm making homemade biscuits. I'm not doing it from the can. So, um, actually, my neighbor, he loans his uh, car battery charger to his brother, and his brother lives like 15 miles away. So he's getting it back from his brother tomorrow, so I'll be able to charge the battery. It's sucked that I haven't been able to do it before, but I've had this issue with him before. I just don't have a battery charger, so he uh, he loans me his, and he's getting his from his brother tomorrow. So almost. Yeah. See, the thing is I am when I need things like that done, I am kind of dependent on him, on my neighbor, and he went to the doctors. This was Monday, he went to the doctor and uh, he ended up finding out that had some cracked ribs. And his doctor found out he had some cracked ribs. So his doctor put him on some higher pain meds. And I talked to him for a second on Tuesday, and that's all I heard from him until last night. So I actually had to go over next door to see him. So I've been trying. No, Matt, I can. All I'd have to do is take it up there and do that. That's not a big deal. Uh, like I said, I've been trying. Just I have to schedule it with him, and sometimes he likes to sleep in really late, and I can't get a hold of him till late in the evening. Or what was it? I heard from him. Let's see. Wednesday. Let's see. No, it was Monday. Was the last. He said doctor found out I had some cracked ribs. Now it's my medicine time, and then so yeah. I mean, I've been trying to get a hold of him, trying to get a ride up there. It's just the nearest auto support store is a mile away. And when it comes to carrying a car battery, I'll have it fixed tomorrow, Matt. I'll be able to have it charged and everything tomorrow. So everything should be good. I've just been waiting and had to end up waiting for this weekend because, like I said, sometimes he's incommunicado through the week, and so how's everybody's day been? Andrew, can you go turn that fan on high and make it go back and forth, oscillate? Rotate. Yeah. No, Gene, I haven't quite started yet. I'm waiting for my sausage to thaw out. Uh, man, I know, and that is my priority. I just, like I said, I have to wait on him and get the rides when I can from him. With as cold as it's been outside, walking a mile carrying a car battery isn't something I'm wanting to do. So that thing can get heavy after some time. Went to Capitol Forest and walked around. What is Capitol? Oh, where are you from? Capitol Forest? Oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. I feel like a pretzel after seeing. Why? What did the doctor do to you, Gene? I'm getting to see all my regulars in here tonight. This is awesome. I guess Friday's a good night to stream. Or they just saw the biscuits and gravy and decided to come see. Oh, ouch. I actually have some new utensils that I'm going to use tonight. Uh,
Mom.
Ashley and I kind of gave our Christmas presents to each other early, and she got me a new set of whisks, really nice set of whisks, and a really nice set of measuring cups and spoons. And I think it's kind of funny. I was telling her yesterday that it's funny how usually the man gets the woman cooking utensils and pots and pans and stuff, and the woman gets the man clothes. Well, with us, it's backwards. But it's something I've needed.
Diamond!
We don't know.
Pretty girl. Pretty girl.
It wasn't actually expensive. It was just some of the cheapest ones we could find, but they're still pretty nice.
She won't give me a good picture.
Okay, now if you will.
She won't open her eyes.
No.
Not you will.
Oh yeah, it's the thought, and but it's something I really enjoy doing is cooking. So, getting me stuff to be able to do it better than other than the stuff the utensils I've had, like the measuring cups I've had. It's the plastic ones. Well, these plastic ones and the measurement rubs off really easy. I mean, they're color coded, so I know what size they are, but they're just cheap. So now I have some nice metal ones.
What a shithead.
Really nice metal set. Really nice metal set. And a nice metal set of whisks. Got them for good Cyber Monday deals and stuff. There you go. It's a good picture of her.
Took 7 pictures. But it took 7 just to get one perfect.
Oh. You want me to see him?
Yeah, to see how much of a jerk she is.
Our cat Diamond has a mind of her own. And, I mean, she thinks she's human most of the times. She's our youngest cat. She's a little over a year old now. And she responds really well to if we, tell her to come here. She knows her name really good. She knows, if. Well, Ashley was trying to take a picture of her. And she was wanting to be a butthead, so she kept her eyes closed. And finally, she got a good picture. It took 7 pictures to do it. So, that's what Ashley was doing just a second ago. I really enjoy eating too, Gene.
Is that picture really cute? Really cute.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
why
now
can't
that
you kill her?
that's done. I generally like to wait like 15, 20 minutes into my stream. That way people are coming in and I can have a chat with you guys for a little bit, and then I get to cooking.
You want to show them what you got me?
Oh, they'll see it. You don't have to put it on or anything. I got Ashley for Christmas a really decent new Cardinals hoodie. She's been wanting one for a while, and we don't have too many hoodies because they get expensive. And I found a good one for a good price, and it it fits her perfect. She was in a 6X men's, and now she's in a 3X large. So pinto beans and cornbread. I am so sorry, Gene. Beans are something I don't really handle well. So good luck with your beans and cornbread, bud.
That's rough.
And PG Nano Farm is having leftover potato casserole.
Sounds like the struggle is real.
Struggle times right now, huh? Holiday season.
Hey, no sleeping.
Okay. So, I guess I shall get started.
You heard him, no sleeping. But you're so warm and comfy.
So,
Then she's like, I hate you.
now,
Hey, no sleeping.
I'm assuming that most of you guys know how to do general basic cooking.
Oh, the actual homemade.
Mm-hmm.
Like you put it in a coffee cup made one.
No.
I want to say the master, but
Can I get some water?
so I don't have any actual ground sausage.
I am the one that's in charge of her waking or not. She's the one that kept me awake, not
So I am using sausage links. And the only difference between ground sausage and sausage links is that sausage links are ground sausage inside of a casing. That's the only difference. So you can that's the casing. You get your sausage nice and thawed out. And it just slides out of the casing.
Told Jeannie he needs to watch. He's gonna make her head swell.
And I am making, like I said, homemade biscuits. So you guys get to see that part. And I love making homemade biscuits. It's a lot of fun. Okay, that was the casings. That's what sausage links are.
That just looks really gross.
Just ground sausage inside a casing.
I know, but the casing's really gross. It looks like intestine lining.
Some of them are. That's what's. I think this one might be natural casing. Um, others are it's like a food-based casing, but it's not lining. Now I'm gonna kind of cook my sausage on a little low because I got to do my biscuits, and those take a little bit. So. I need my flour, wherever the flour is.
Down low.
You heard nothing.
Oh, I remember where I put it. I hid my flour out of the way for last weekend. Haven't had to use it since. So. Two cups flour. I need a tablespoon of baking powder. I'm going to need salt too. I need a tablespoon of sugar. And a teaspoon of salt.
I'm in the chat and everybody stops talking.
It's because I'm cooking.
They're taking notes.
Now this is just a general recipe. Okay. Now I need 3/4 of a cup of milk. Now, what I'm going to do is um, I'm going to put my milk in the freezer. I put my butter in the freezer earlier. And the reason you want to do this, probably can't hear me very well.
What are you looking for?
Nothing. I put my butter in the freezer, and the reason I do that is because you want your butter as cold as possible. I use margarine, so it's going to be soft, but you want it cold. That way, when it bakes, you don't bake it as much. The butter still stays kind of, I guess you can say, clumpy in a way, and that helps your biscuits to have that nice buttery texture, kind of flaky texture. And you want to pull it off in little pieces. So I just take a fork to the side of my little measuring cup and drop in little pieces.
I'm not using your new one.
What? No, measuring cup. No, because it has butter in it. I'm not wanting to use that for this right at the moment. If you use actual butter, it'll actually freeze up a lot harder, and you can actually take the stick and take it to a cheese grater, and the cheese grater will grate that up into very fine, small, fine pieces, and you'll be able to incorporate that a lot better. Now I just like to, because I don't have um, a pastry cutter, I just take my fork and I go around the sides. This is going to end up getting the consistency of little crumbs with this flour. And I just take my fork, the butter goes through the tines of the fork and shreds up smaller. You want that butter to incorporate in all of that flour and all these dry ingredients really well. So you don't want really large chunks. You want them very fine grained. So it takes a few minutes to get everything incorporated just right. If you still have larger chunks of butter like, like that, like that, it's a little bit too big. You want it smaller. So make sure they're smaller than that. Okay, and I know you guys can't tell,
No, I'm not watching a coffee.
but this has a very grainy texture to it. It's almost like breadcrumbs. And it's cold because that butter was cold. But it doesn't have the consistency of flour anymore. You know, I put my hand in it, and it doesn't look like flour all over my hand. So, that's what I wanted. Mix up my sausage a little bit. Now I can turn that up a little. I'm gonna get my bacon pans out. Here.
Callie, don't even make a mess.
Now I'm setting my oven to 425 because you want your biscuits to cook fast. You want them to cook and rise and not get overdone in the center. If you cook them any lower than 400, so if you ever find a recipe that tells you to cook biscuits at less than 400, they're not telling you to cook it right. So now I take my fork, and now I have my milk. I'm going to make a little well in the center. And I'm going to pour this milk right in the well of that center. It was in the freezer for about 5 minutes, so it's nice and cold. And now I'm going to take my fork, and around the edges, just like you would with pasta, you incorporate that milk into that flour. You scrape down the edges into that flour mixture. You don't want to overwork this. You want it just moist enough and mixed good enough to make a dough. If you have the ground sausage, like what you need, you don't have to cut the sausage up and stuff, but oh yeah, you can make this by the dozens and have good, big, thick, hearty biscuits anytime you need them. Now, take a drink of coffee. And then I'm going to take and flour my surface. You don't want it heavily floured. Just reach in there and that is a lightly floured surface. And now your dough's going to be really sticky. So if you don't want to get too sticky, what do you say?
He said his problem is that
Yeah, true.
they're like Lay's
Very
chips.
true.
Just
I mean,
make
you can do anything you want with biscuits. Put honey on them, put jelly on them. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take flour and cover the top of it. It doesn't take much more flour than the 2 cups. So that's why you want the surface kind of lightly floured. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm not going to use a rolling pin. If I feel my hands get sticky on the dough, I'm just going to take some flour and add it. Wipe my hands with flour and then pat it more. But what I'm doing is I'm folding it every so often. And what that's going to do is that's going to incorporate layers into those biscuits. My oven's ready. So, like last time, I don't have a biscuit cutter. So I just look in the good old cupboards for a cup that will work. That is a good biscuit size cup. Now, I didn't make much dough because we are not going to eat much. Ashley's going to eat maybe 1 and be done. So I made enough for about 7, 8 biscuits. I might get that. You just want to use your hands. Okay. Now I take a little pile of flour right here. Okay. You want your dough to be kind of even all the way across, but you don't really want to use the rolling pin because you don't want to overwork it. The rolling pin, people will get way too happy with it. Okay. You want it to be, I like it anywhere between 1/4 and 1/2, generally probably right around 1/3 of an inch. You take your biscuit cutter or cup, roll it around in that pile of flour. Make sure you get it a nice little dusting of flour on it, just like that. And what you want to do You want to get as many biscuits out of it as possible. Put your cup or your cutter on, push straight down, do not turn it, and pull up. If you twist it, trying to go in there, it's going to mess up your biscuits. They're not going to rise. They're going to be pinched off on the side, so you're not going to get that openness to the biscuit. Okay. Pick the dough up, toss it to the side. Take your biscuits. Looks like a canned biscuit, don't it? Be a good biscuit though. Toss it in the oven for about 12 minutes. Now I take the rest of the dough, kind of squish it between my hands a little bit, get a little bit more flour into it, but not much. Press it out, fold it, fold it. Oh, UPS. Oh, not too bad. How you doing? Yeah.
I already know what it is. Go straight to the room.
Yeah, I know. Here, you want to take it back there? Okay, sorry about that, guys.
Empty box.
I didn't realize they'd come here. So it is only 5. And now I'm going to pat it out once more. Probably get about 3 more biscuits out of this. And sorry you guys don't see my head. I'm showing y'all what I'm doing. Now, I always make sure I turn it over before I start cutting, because if it's sticky, it'll stick to the counter, and you don't want that stickiness like that. One goes on this one. And what I do with the last bit is I just kind of press it together, make a circle out of it the best I can, press it down.
That tastes like I put in no sugar.
Well, you put sugar in it.
I don't taste
And it's going to be an ugly duckling biscuit, but it's going to just be pulled apart for biscuits and gravy anyway. And that's what matters.
Yeah, Andrew, Santa sent you an early Christmas present.
Well,
Okay. So,
Early Christmas present.
losing my mind here, guys.
Here you go.
what is it?
Why were you in my room?
I was,
Get out of my room.
I wasn't even in your room.
That door
That
is now
door.
my room.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay, just even.
these three, I'm just tossing in next
It'll
to
make
the
a
other
lot
ones.
of noise, don't it?
You see how the other ones are already rising. I'm gonna bring you guys over here anyway, so you'll get to see them.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
But
Biscuits that have been in there just a couple minutes compared to biscuits I just put in. You can see how those are not rising up nicely. So, okay. So now you guys get to watch me make this. This is my sausage links. You want to chop this up as good as you can. Now you see that little bit of grease down there. I found a whisk chops this sausage up nicely, and whether it's sausage links that you're using or ground sausage, either way, I want to turn that up a little bit, temperature. Make sure it's all nicely, no big pieces. The bubble wrap? Yeah.
Yeah, I brought a bag of bubble wrap. We show the audience? We just straight from Santa?
Okay. So now that I hear that sizzle, turn it up just a little more. I'm going to toss a couple tablespoons of flour in. And it's just going to mix with that sausage and all that fat from the sausage. See, it all mixed up real good. I don't have really any. If I see any left over that's not dried up from the flour, I can add just a little more flour. That gives me a little bit more gravy. We like a lot of gravy. So I want all that grease absorbed up by flour. And if you were just using butter, if you were making a normal gravy just using butter and flour, it's called a roux. And that's spelled R-E-U-X. If you want to Google what a roux is, but You want almost kind of like a, if you put it in like I do with the sausage, you want almost kind of like a dry look on sheen on the outside of the sausage. But you want all that flour absorbed. And then you go from your flour to your milk. And I just add it straight out of the jug. I add a little bit at a time. I don't add it all. That way I can see the consistency. I turn up my heat a little bit. And I sit here and I stir with my whisk. I'll show you guys here in a minute once it starts to kind of thicken up a little bit what it's supposed to look like. I'm going to be pulling my biscuits out my first pan here in just a minute.
Smells like maple syrup in here.
Yeah, because the sausage links have that.
Smells good.
Yeah. And I'm going to try to find a better way to put my camera so you can see me and what I'm cooking at the same time. Right now, I just don't have a way. Just got to figure out a way. Like most people, the back of my stove is back against the wall, and so you don't want to, I mean, you can stop stirring it for a minute, but you don't want to really stop stirring this, because if you do, it'll scorch the milk on the bottom of the pan. And I like to go by consistency and look. Okay. You guys can see that that's thickening up. That's starting to thicken up. That's not the milky consistency anymore. See how it's sticking to the sides of the pan when I go around? That's how I want it. And it's starting to kind of bubble a little bit. That's how you want it, nice and bubbly. That's going to get really thick, so I'm going to add a little bit more milk. It's going to lower the temperature, give me some more time to stir, and I'm going to be able to choose my consistency from here. If I want a really thick gravy, then I'd stop right about here with the milk, or probably add half of what I just added, and stir, let it bubble and thicken up, and then be done. But we like a lot of gravy, so it all kind of depends on the amount of flour you added. If you want more gravy, try to add as much flour into the sausage fat as you can. You know, you don't want any flour just sitting in the pan when you add your milk, because it won't mix right. And you also have to consider that once this starts to cool, once you take this off the heat and starts to cool, you're going to get a skin all along the top of your gravy, and it's going to thicken up even more. So I generally add my milk in a series of 2 or 3 times. Want to, at this point, Add some salt. I'll turn my heat down because that's. I've got to check my biscuits real quick. Oh, not quite yet. And I'm going to add some pepper. Just some black pepper. You can add white pepper if you don't want it to. But I like the pepper gravy idea. Oh. Oops, sorry guys.
You just drop your guys all the time now. First time now you drop them on their face.
The longer you leave it on the heat and let it bubble, the thicker it's going to end up getting. Because more of that flour is going to incorporate. So that's getting nice and thick. I'm going to add a little bit more milk. Let it bubble one more time while I'm waiting on my biscuits. It should be about done. So that dropped the temperature, so I can let that sit for just a minute. That'll be plenty of gravy for us. I'll milk back. Now, a lot of people don't think that once you get this, if you get it end up getting it too watery, a lot of people don't think that you can really mix flour up into it. White gravy mixes really well if you have a whisk, and you're able to very slowly add flour in. It does actually incorporate without breaking. What's called breaking the gravy, where the flour isn't, it's in chunks and stuff like that in your gravy. I've done it several times. Never really had much of an issue. Now, turkey gravies and brown gravies and stuff have a harder time incorporating because you're not using the dairy for one. And it's a different type of fat that you're using to incorporate with that flour. Best thing would be to do is if you end up making your gravy too wet and it doesn't want to thicken up, take a little pan off to the side, toss about a tablespoon of butter, and add about a tablespoon of flour. Heat your butter up. Get flour, about the same amount of fat as you do flour. Make a roux out of it, which it'll be kind of pasty, and then kind of slowly drop it in, and that'll incorporate that and thicken it up a lot more. Okay, biscuits are done. The higher you have your heat, the faster it's going to boil, and the more you want to whisk this. You don't want to let it go if it's on a higher heat. There we go. Sometimes it'll do like it just did with me, and it'll be thin, and then all of a sudden it'll thicken up. Put that on the back burner. I want to get my butter back out. Must be crispy. Now I'm just gonna put some butter over top of my biscuits. And that'll keep them from being so dry. Just that funky one I made, the last one. There's some good looking biscuits. They look like you pull them out of a can. Now you don't want big, huge globs of butter on it, but just enough to cover the top so it doesn't dry out too bad. And there you have homemade biscuits. Now I could have thickened that up more. I think I will. It's still hot. Now, if you let it sit for a minute and it doesn't thicken up much, you can turn your heat back up, let it boil a little more, or you can do the roux thing, where you add a little bit of butter. Well, thanks for joining Practical Modern. It's just about done, Gene. I'm going to thicken my gravy up just a little bit more. My stove heats up real quick. Gonna let this boil for just a couple more minutes. And multitask at the same time, getting me a cup of coffee, because you can't make biscuits and gravy and not have coffee with it. That's just a shame.
And are you working on the gravy right now?
Yeah, gravy's just about done, bub.
Okay, good, because I'm pretty hungry. Why do you have it on 125 degrees?
Oh, I forgot to shut that off. Thanks for reminding me, Rue.
Welcome. Oh, I just see.
Okay, I think that'll thicken up enough.
Oh my god.
See, we're kind of picky about the consistency of our gravy. It can't be too thin, but too thick is too much. So, I think that should about do it. It's still kind of bubbling, and as it cools off, it's going to thicken up about twice as thick as it is. So, I'll take that off the heat, let that sit for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes, and in that time, it'll be good enough to eat. In the meantime,
Drop.
flour up. Take my baking pans. Clean up my little flour mess.
What about that thing?
And your other,
What's that your room?
it's now my room. Because we made our room bigger, that's now our room.
And what's these still in there?
Because Dad hasn't fixed them up yet.
So what do you mean by that?
Dad hasn't fixed his fridge yet.
You've been recording for an hour, 10 minutes, and 40 seconds.
Now I get to sit down for a minute while this thickens up. It's about thick enough. And don't have any of my fancy bowls
Right now.
right now, but I will. So you can see how we do ours. Put mine in a clear bowl for you.
Oh.
And what we do, a lot of people just take them and split them, and that's fine. But I like to break mine up because I like to get that gravy all over everything.
Hi guys.
That's good. And that is my homemade biscuits and gravy. Homemade biscuits, gravy not out of a can, which is should be a crime, because ribeye steak. That sounds really good.
I want some ribeye. I'll trade you.
You want one biscuit or two, babe?
I'll try one for now.
Okay.
What do you think about it, Diamond?
Stop. Andrew. Okay. Yes, Gene, that crap out of a can is a crime. No, it's okay, PG, Animal Farm. I just got done dishing everybody up, and I'm about to dig in. I don't know at what time you got pulled away. Sorry, I'm plugging y'all in just to make sure. There we go.
Maple syrup makes it better.
Really?
Yeah, it goes with a really good
Sorry,
flavor.
guys. There we go. Yeah, you're more than welcome to rewatch. What part did you leave? Well, okay, Gene, have fun. Don't hurt yourself, bud. This is my homemade biscuits and gravy. As you can see, big, nice, lots of steam coming off the top. Got little specks of pepper in it, like right there and there. Nice big chunks of sausage, fresh homemade biscuits. I could live off of this stuff, guys. That's how good this is. And the biscuits were just I whenever I do a stream with you guys. You want more? Okay. Whenever I do a stream with you guys, I'm not ever going to do a recipe that I don't have an ingredient list for. I will always do a basic Google search for, like tonight, biscuit recipe, homemade biscuit recipe. Um, Very easily searchable, uh, and I will always tell you what ingredients and how much I put in something. um, so I will never leave you guys out of the loop. I won't ever just do recipes off the top of my head, although I have tons of them I could do. Uh, but I won't do that because I want you guys to be able to go on and easily find the ingredients and easily see that this is something that has been put out there that can be done. So, um, so I want, so you guys will be able to, if you see me do something, if you see me do a recipe online, it's not going to be just, oh, that looks good, or oh, that looks good. Um, it's going to be something you can actually look up and do yourself. Uh, I am actually going to be starting a food and cooking blog online. It's in the works. My site's I'm getting it built, and that site will encumber dozens of cooking tutorials, uh, general baking information, cooking information, um, and I'm going to, and if anybody wants to be put in it, um, actually, let me put my email address. If anybody does cooking, if anybody has a review on a recipe, ideas for um, general baking, send me an email. And I can put you on my website, my blog, and you can go sit down for a minute. I haven't even got done eating my bed. And I will incorporate you guys onto my website blog and hopefully get something pretty big started. If you guys know anybody that's a really good cook or baker, I want to start a nice community of people with like minds that like to cook and bake, and all around the nation, even the world, and get ideas for the blog. I can put anybody in to be able to blog, make reviews on whatever, give ideas for recipes, things like that. So one thing I have to tell you, the sausage links I used
Don't sleep. No.
were maple flavored from what was that? I can't find it. But they were maple flavored sausage links, and I think next time I make this, I'm going to use them again because it gives it a really, really, really good flavor. If you like the taste of maple at all. So yeah, once I start my once I actually launch my site, I'm going to be putting all kinds of information out in a video about my site launch and ways you can um, start to leave reviews, or if you want to be part of that, I'd be more than glad to have anybody on there that likes to cook, likes food. Um,
Diamond. Don't sleep. No.
Maybe hopefully one of these days I can uh, become the next Emerald or something.
Actually,
That's so good.
Merry Christmas.
So guys, it's been fun, but that's why I said Emerald. Just not Cajun food. I could handle the spice, but I gotta gear my cooking and baking towards what things that Ashley can eat too. So, but guys, I've been on for
Hour 20.
a little over an hour and 20 minutes. I'm going to get going. Thank you for joining me on and watching me make biscuits and gravy with homemade biscuits and maple flavored sausage. It's really, really good. And if you have any questions, my email is just right up in the chat. Go ahead and email me. Like I said, if you want to be part of my new website that I'm putting out, I should have that up within the next few days, or within the next week. I'll have that actually up and live, and I'm going to be putting all kinds of information up on a video to let you guys know all about it and how you can be part of that. So until next time, guys, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all, but y'all can't watch me forever. Y'all have a good night.